You're going to do exactly what I tell you, you rude little black girl, or you can pack your things. Manager Kevin Torres grabbed Natasha's arm tightly, dragging her toward the back of the Elegance restaurant, away from the security cameras. Imagine being cornered by your boss, called names, and dragged away just for saying no to dirty money. What would you do? Stick around, because this waitress's revenge will blow your mind. Natasha Williams, 28. Never imagined that her 2-year job at Chicago's most upscale restaurant would end with her being shamed for refusing a bribe from a big-shot customer. Senator Richardson had left an envelope with $5,000 to forget that he saw Kevin messing with receipts. And she simply said, "No, please, Mr. Torres. Let go of my arm," she said with a calm that made him even madder. "I will not take dirty money, period," Kevin growled, pushing her against the wall of the narrow hallway. "Listen here, you stuck-up little black girl. You think you're better than everyone else, that you can lecture me." His face was red with anger. "You're just a waitress I took pity on and hired. People like you should be grateful to have a job." What Kevin didn't know was that Natasha had recorded every word on her cell phone, hidden in her apron pocket. Over the past 6 months, she had carefully noted every racist remark, every shady deal, every abuse of power she had seen in that place. "Let's have a private chat in the bathroom," Kevin whispered, squeezing her arm even tighter. "Maybe you'll understand your place here better after I explain exactly how things work." Natasha took a deep breath, keeping the cool she had learned over years of dealing with men like Kevin. "You don't want to do that, Mr. Torres." "Oh, I don't." He laughed cruelly. "And who's going to stop me?" "Your little husband. That failed mechanic who can't even give you a decent life." But hold on, what if that failed mechanic was actually a mafia boss with ice-cold eyes and a team of giants? The twist coming up will have you cheering. That's when a cold voice cut through the air like a blade. "I would say you should let go of my wife immediately." Kevin turned and paled. From the dark corner near the back entrance, a tall man in an impeccable suit was walking toward them. His eyes were cold as ice, and a huge, scary man followed a few steps behind. "Alessandro Moretti," Kevin muttered, recognizing the name that everyone in town knew, even if they had never seen his face. Natasha smiled for the first time that night. In 3 years of marriage, she had never told work that her husband was one of the most powerful men in Chicago. She loved her independence, building her own name away from his shadow. But she had called Alessandro 2 hours earlier when she sensed things getting dangerous. Alessandro stopped a meter away from Kevin, who was still holding Natasha's arm. "You have 3 seconds to explain why you're touching my wife." Kevin let go of Natasha as if she were on fire. I didn't know. It was just a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Alessandro tilted his head, his tone dangerously calm. "You called my wife an insolent little black girl and dragged her to a place without cameras. That seems pretty intentional to me." Natasha watched the scene with growing satisfaction. For months, Kevin had treated her like she was less than nothing, like she was just an unimportant waitress, like people like her should take any shame in silence. Now, seeing that arrogant man shake before her husband, she knew her smart patience was about to pay off big, way better than any quick fight. If you're loving this tale of payback and justice, hit subscribe to Blackman Notebook for more stories like this. Alessandro took a step forward, and Kevin backed away, tripping over his own feet. I didn't know she was your wife, Mr. Moretti. It was just a mix-up between staff. Nothing serious." "Misunderstanding?" Alessandro repeated slowly, like he was tasting each word. "You just called my wife a rude little black girl and dragged her to a hidden spot against her will. That seems too exact for a mix-up." Natasha watched Kevin fall apart right there. For 2 years, that man had treated her like garbage, making racist jabs he called jokes, touching her back wrong, and docking her pay when she asked questions. He saw her as a throwaway black waitress with no ties, no strength, no value. "Look, Mr. Moretti," Kevin tried to pull himself together. "Your wife has been trouble lately. Questioning rules, refusing simple orders like taking bribes." Natasha cut in, pulling her cell phone from her apron pocket. "Like this recording of you offering me $5,000 to forget Senator Richardson's fake receipts." The blood drained from Kevin's face. You recorded me." Natasha smiled for the first time that night. "Kevin, over the past 6 months, you've been caught on tape 43 times, snapped in photos 27 times, and noted in 60 to detailed reports that I sent weekly to my husband for months. While Kevin shamed her every day, Natasha had built a full file on the restaurant's dirty tricks. Every bribed guest, every faked receipt, every racist dig, every wrong touch, all caught and dated. Did you really think a black woman with a business degree from Northwestern University, who speaks 4 languages and has a master's in hotel management, was slinging plates because she had no options? Natasha tilted her head, her nice tone hiding her rising joy. Kevin opened and closed his mouth like a fish out of water. But you never said. I thought what? That because I'm black, I should swallow any shame quietly. That because I wait tables, I couldn't have smarts or links. Natasha stepped closer. You built a picture of me based on your bias, Kevin, and that was your worst slip-up. Alessandro watched his wife with clear pride. When she had pitched working undercover to dig into the restaurant he suspected was washing dirty money, he had paused. But Natasha pushed. She wanted to show she could help the family business with her own skills. During these 2 years, Natasha went on, you didn't just shame me. You shamed Maria in the kitchen, saying Mexicans are only good for scrubbing pots. You bugged Jessica the sommelier because she should be thankful for the chance. And you stole from guests who trusted you. Step by step, Kevin tried one last wild move. Wait, I can explain this. We can make a deal, Mr. Moretti. I have good info on other spots, on rivals. Alessandro smiled icy. Kevin, you're offering tips to the man who's known every dirty secret in this city for years. My wife wasn't here to dig up hidden stuff. She was here to gather proof. The gap is huge, and Kevin was starting to get how deep he was in. He hadn't been nabbed by luck. He had been watched, listed, and filed like a lab rat for months. Senator Richardson will love hearing your deals are on tape, Natasha added lightly. As will Judge Morrison, Congressman Walsh, and that builder you've been helping for over a year. Kevin's legs gave way. Each name she dropped wasn't just a lost buddy, it was a big player who would now turn foe when they learned his screw-ups had spilled their secrets. Please, he whispered, his cocky voice gone. I have a family, kids. Funny you mention family, Alessandro said softly, because that's what you should have thought of before touching mine. What Kevin didn't know and Natasha was about to drop was that the last 6 months of notes hadn't just nailed a crooked boss. They had mapped a whole web of graft tying Pauls, judges, and tycoons in the city. Using elegance as their meat spot for shady swaps, each fresh shame Kevin threw only built a fire in Natasha. He could never spot a quiet drive sparked by the very wrong he tried to make normal. Building not just a fight against him, but against a whole setup that guys like Kevin backed and hid. As Kevin begged for a break, Natasha coolly opened the briefcase she had with her. A case he had seen her tote hundreds of times, always figuring it held just sales logs or guest gripes. For 2 years, Kevin had eyed his black underling haul that case home nightly, never dreaming she was stacking his ruin, page by page. Kevin, do you recall when you said I should be thankful for a job? Natasha flipped through the papers neatly. Specifically, on March 23rd, when Senator Richardson showed with that campaign check you funneled into the restaurant's secret account. Kevin made one last crazy play, yanking his phone from his pocket. I'm calling Senator Richardson now. He'll fix this. He is pulling this town. Ties you can't dream of. Alessandro and Natasha swapped a fun look. Kevin truly thought his pals could save him from a probe that had looped in the FBI for months. Go ahead, call, Alessandro said gently. But no, Senator Richardson is getting nabbed at his home right now for washing money and dodging taxes. The color fled Kevin's face. That's impossible. Operation Clean Plate, Natasha said offhand, turning a page in the folder. 6 months of team probe by the FBI, IRS, and Chicago cops. 12 Pauls, 8 judges, 15 tycoons, all tied through the deals you smoothed here at Elegance. Kevin reeled, slumping on the wall. For months he had felt bulletproof. Shielded by a crew of bent Pauls, he called friends big shots who knew him by name, slipped him fat bribes, made him feel key. Judge Morrison, Kevin breathed, nabbed 2 hours back, Alessandro said. Same for Congressman Walsh, and that builder you looked up to. Natasha kept flipping the folder, each sheet a chunk of careful grind. Shots of fishy checks, tapes of talks, money trail logs, even pen stroke checks proving Kevin's fakes. You know what hits me hardest, Kevin? Natasha stopped at one shot. In this paper, you faked Alessandro's own sign. The guy right here has tracked your every step for months, and you dared copy his name. It hit Kevin then, the full weight. He hadn't just skimmed guests or grabbed payoffs. He had, without knowing, ripped off Chicago's most risky player, filing every wrong while thinking he was slick. Please, Kevin dropped to his knees. I have young kids, an ex-wife leaning on support cash. I can pay it all back. I can rat on the rest, rat? Natasha cocked her head. Kevin, you miss it. We don't need your word. We have 1,000 pages of rock-solid proof, clear tapes, lab breakdowns. You're not a tip-off. You're the wrap-up. For months, while shaming Natasha daily, Kevin had been eyed like a lab bug. Every shift scanned, every bad move logged, every tie charted. He thought he ruled a meek black server, but he was played by a Fed sting that dangled him for way bigger catches. Michael, Alessandro called, and a sharp guy in a dark suit stepped into the hall. This is Michael Santos, my advisor. He's also a Fed lawyer, and led the sting with my wife. Kevin eyed Michael, half knowing his face. You ate here lots, 43 times in 6 months, Michael said, grinning. Always eyeing, always taping. You poured wine for the guy building your bust, Kevin. And you were always so nice. The twist stung hard. For months, Kevin had bowed to these guys. Sure, they dug his business smarts. Truth. They stalked him like wolves eye a deer, waiting to pounce just right. Natasha logged every swap. Michael went on. But we needed extra. We needed you to pull a crime right in front of Alessandro, a wrong no one could downplay. Senator Richardson's payoff. Natasha laid out. $5,000 dangled with 3 secret cams and to Fed eyes. The ideal wrong to seal your file. Kevin got it at last. The bribe mess wasn't chance or quick luck. It was set up tight to push him into a Fed crime with can't-miss watchers. You handed us gold, Alessandro said even. A white guy in charge, grinding down a skilled black woman while robbing guests and oiling Paul Graft. The ideal crime with the ugliest drives. Michael cracked his own case, showing a pile of signed nab papers. Kevin Torres, you're nabbed for washing money, dodging taxes, race bias at work, and plotting Fed scams, as Michael read his rights. Kevin shot one last look at Natasha, the woman he had trashed for 2 years. She stood calm and strong, eyeing the crash of the graft kingdom he had helped raise. What Kevin would never learn was his nab kicked off a chain that would flip Chicago's pulse scene upside down, and that the black server he loathed was set to become one of the city's top women, not from spite, but from spot-on justice. As the cuff snapped on his wrists, Kevin saw that every shame he dealt had only stoked a quiet grit in her, now stronger than all his ego and bias lumped, proving that writing off someone on bias isn't just wrong, it's a fast track to your own wreck. As Michael cuffed Kevin, blaring sirens filled the air outside. Through the windows, Kevin saw FBI rides boxing in elegance. Fed team storming the front with raid papers. No, Kevin rasped, truth slamming him like a brick. You can't wreck me like this. I helped you. I smoothed the deals, smoothed. Natasha let out a soft laugh, one that cut deeper than any yell. Kevin, did you really think we teamed up? That we shared some crook bond? Alessandro waved to his crew, who started hauling Kevin to the waiting feds. But Natasha held up a hand for one last beat. Before you exit our world for good, Kevin, I want you to get exactly what went down. She popped the case one last time, showing not just papers, but shots that made Kevin sway. The first caught him at a local bar 2 months back, boasting to other bosses how he kept the colored staff in check. The second nabbed him tweaking card slips. The third froze the second he laid unwanted hands on Jessica the sommelier. 43 spots in Chicago, Natasha said steady. All got copies of this proof last night, plus a note spelling your bias and graph tricks. Kevin's face went ghost white. His eatery career wasn't done, it was nuked. No solid place in town would touch him now. Your ex also got the full set, Michael tossed in easy. Big hit was the log of $50,000 you skimmed from support cash over 2 years. Kevin whirled. Jennifer can't, she won't. She already filed to redo the split this morning, Alessandro told him. Turns out, learning her ex is a Fed crook flips kid care terms big. It sank in for Kevin the full smash. It wasn't his gig or freedom. It was his kin, his name, his whole self, torn down bit by bit. Please, he begged last, tears welling. My kids, they'll grow knowing their dad's a crook. Your kids will grow knowing deeds have fallout, Natasha said firm. And maybe that stops them turning into guys like you. When the Fed team finally dragged Kevin off, he twisted back to Natasha. "Why hide who you were? Why fake being just a server?" Natasha smiled, the first real feeling in the whole clash. "Because I wasn't faking a thing, Kevin. I am a waitress. A waitress with 2 college degrees. 4 languages under her belt, wed to one of the city's top dogs. And who just ran the biggest anti-graft bust in Chicago history." She paused, watching Kevin shoved into the Fed ride. "The gap between us. You eyed me and saw just skin and job. I eyed you and clocked your true self from jump." As the car peeled out, Natasha turned to Alessandro. "Press looped in. Channel 7 airs in an hour," Alessandro said. "Operation Clean Plate. Graft web smashed by hidden probe. Your pick hits Chicago Tribune front tomorrow." Michael slid up with a tablet flashing fresh online heads. "Hero server outs $1,000,000. Graft plot and black woman flips white power setup in Chicago blew up feeds. 12 polls, 8 judges, 15 tycoons," Natasha mumbled, scanning the arrest tally climbing live. 2 years of grind, 6 months of deep logs. And Kevin Torres was the opener that cracked every lock. What Kevin would never grasp was his bus streamed live to a Northwestern class where Natasha was set to talk hidden probes and fair play. Next week, law, biz, and news kid sat hushed as a woman dissed for color, and job tore down a throne of perks and graft built on years of free passes showing real smarts don't yell or clash. But wait, smart and log tight, turning each shame into can't deny proof for the sweetest justice hit. 6 months on, Natasha stood on the big stage at Chicago Convention Center before 2,000 strong. Mayors, biz heads, change fighters, and students leapt up clapping as she grabbed the National Anti-Graft Award from Illinois Governor. It's a thrill to hail a woman who didn't just outgraft, but rewrote how bias and perks feed crime webs, the governor said. Passing the gold slab. Kevin Torres then rotted in a Fed pen in Terre Haute, pulling 15 years for washing money, race bias, and crook plots. His wild bids for lighter time via tips flopped nothing. He had beat what Natasha had logged tight. His ex, Jennifer, snagged full kid hold and flipped the split full. The $50,000 skimmed from kid cash, plus fees, and hits meant Kevin would exit owing over $200,000 for 2 years. Natasha kicked off her talk, voice booming clean through the jammed hall. "I was ghosted by a setup that pegged my worth on skin shade and job alone. But ghosting can be the top power when played sharp." The crowd chuckled, but her words hit deep and true. CNN, Fox, MSNBC cams caught every move, every look, beaming live to millions countrywide. Front row, Alessandro beamed at his wife, no holds barred. Beside him, Michael Santos grinned quiet, recalling the day Natasha pitched going hidden. They had balked, fretting her safe. Now, she ranked as one of America's top changemakers. Operation Clean Plate wasn't just nabbing crooks, Natasha pushed on. It proved writing off someone on bias isn't just bad, it's a quick way to wreck yourself. Senator Richardson drew 22 years in Fed lockup. Judge Morrison shed his gown and faced graft trial. Congressman Walsh's Paul run tanked, assets seized. 15 city bigwigs lost biz tags, gov deals, and reps stacked over decades. Every soul in this plot wrote off not just me, but a black woman's knack to outthink, outprep, and outplay them all lumped, Natasha said, voice firing up. What Kevin would never catch was Natasha nixing bids from 6 schools for top spots in crime law and hidden work. She chose launching the Williams Moretti Center Against Graft, a group schooling probers nationwide on sneaking and logging white-collar wrongs. 3 months post-bust, she rolled. Harvard Law, Yale, Stanford, Northwestern hit me up. All eyed me crafting classes on hidden probes for fair play. Alessandro had grown his biz legit, flipping elegance into the first of a chain tagged Fed clean for no graft. The name now meant open books and right dealings. Maria, the Mexican kitchen hand Kevin trashed, ran 3 spots as area boss. Jessica, the bug sommelier, kicked off her wine advice firm with quiet seed cash from Alessandro. Kevin Torres once said, "I should thank my stars for a job." Natasha paused, letting the bite sink with the crowd. "Today, I spark jobs for over 300 via our center and the firms we tag clean." The shift stretched past one case. Chicago rolled the Natasha Williams law, forcing all shops with 20-plus staff to face outside checks for bias and graft every 2 years. "Those 2 years hauling trays," she said, voice thick with held feeling, "taught me true power ain't from yelling when wronged. It comes from flipping every shame to proof, every slight to log, Every mad flashed a sharp plan. Kevin, in his cage, got weekly mail from old Marks suing him civil. Senator Richardson, Judge Morrison, all the palsy-called crew now dumped blame on him public for spilling their dirt. He turned the ideal fall guy, the one all could bash without poking the setup that let him run long. My man once asked if I pitied them. Natasha smiled soft. I said, I pity any who mix rank with rightness, perks with brains, who think grinding others lifts them. The hall burst clapping again. Feeds lit with hashtag Natasha Williams Global for 3 days straight. College kids inked lines from her talks. Young black women nationwide snapped pics with signs. Ghosting is power. Kevin Torres thought for 2 years he bossed a meek server, she said, striding the stage like one who turned herd to drive. Truth, he got scoped by a Fed sting that dangled him for catches way over his head. Alessandro clocked the crowd's vibes, spotting tears in many eyes. Natasha had grown past wife. She was a change storm firing folks worldwide. Best payback, Natasha rapped, voice ringing through the hall's hush. Ain't wrecking who hurt you. It's building something so huge, so key, so game-changing that they burn their days sorry they wrote you off. She stepped off to claps rolling 5 straight minutes. Backstage, Alessandro met her. How's it feel to spark America? Natasha grinned, fixing the fresh gold slab. Like turning 2 years of shame into endless drive. Kevin Torres would never know his name, tagged wrecking ego in law school cases. His tape schooled how bias blinds to truth. His drop sparked Fed rules on Joe bias. 6 months post-NAM, 3 docs on the tail cooked at once. Hollywood snagged rights for 7 figures. And Natasha Williams already stood as live proof. Writing off on bias ain't just gross, it's the slickest self-kill. The server Kevin sneered at for 2 years now keynoted UN. Counseled 3 Eurolands on anti-graft and penned smart ghosting. Glued to NYT top sellers 15 weeks running, while Kevin tallied days in Fed bars. Natasha rose each dawn sure she had flipped egg to might. Shame to spark, seeming loss to the richest win. Not just over one biased guy, but a whole machine letting his kind bloom off those they rank low. If this tale of shift and right hit your core. Subscribe to Blackman Notebook for more true hits of folks flipping wrongs to wins that prove brains and grit beat bias and ego every time.